My name is Doug Krull. I'm a professor in the Department of Psychological Science at Northern Kentucky University, and I'm going to talk to you about experimental research. Experimental research seeks to discover if one variable causes another, and this is something that we often want to know in psychology. So for example, we might want to know, does a particular type of therapy really reduce levels of depression? Or does a particular memory strategy really help people to remember? Or maybe does a particular technique that we can use in communities really reduce violent crime or increase helping behavior or something along those lines? And so we often want to know if one variable does have a causal effect on another one. Let me give you an example of how this might be done. Let's suppose that I want to know if violent media increases aggression in viewers, which research suggests that it does in general. And let's suppose I do a pretty simple study with just two conditions. In one condition, the experimental condition, people watch a violent film clip. And then in the other condition, the control condition, they watch some neutral film clip, maybe a documentary on penguins, something like that. Now let me give you some terminology on this. There's two types of variables that we care about with regard to experimentation: independent variables and dependent variables. The independent variables are the ones that the experimenter messes with. In other words, the experimenter controls who's going to get what. In this case, we have one independent variable, the film. The experimenter decides some people are going to see a violent film clip, other people are going to see a neutral film clip, the documentary on penguins. The dependent variable is the one we measure. In this case, it would be levels of aggression. And the prediction is that the independent variable is going to influence the dependent variable, or that the dependent variable will depend upon the independent variable. Now, let's suppose that I actually wanted to do a study like that. It so happens there's a school not very far from where I live, so I could load some film clips on some laptops and perhaps get some people to help me and go down there before a football game is scheduled to begin. And perhaps people are standing around waiting for the game to begin. They have time on their hands. And so I think, well, let's see here. I need some people for my violent film condition. Football players. Hey, you big football players, would you mind coming over here? I've got this film clip. It'll just take a couple of minutes. Would you mind watching that? And then I'll ask you some questions. Would that be okay? Terrific. And so I do that. Then I think I need some people for my non-violent film condition. The band. Band members. Would you mind coming over here and watching this film clip? Just take a couple of minutes, and then I'll ask you some questions. Would that be all right? Terrific. And so let's suppose I do that, and I discover that people in the violent film condition indeed turn out to be more aggressive than people in the non-violent film condition. And so I conclude that violent films do in fact increase aggression. Except, as you probably noticed, I have a problem, don't I? I have a problem that we refer to as a confound. A confound is where I have more than one possible explanation for my finding. It could be that the film really is responsible. Maybe that really is the reason why aggression levels were higher, but it might not be that. It could be because of differences between the football players and the band members, and the film has nothing to do with it. And so notice that a confound isn't that I failed to find something. I did find something. I just don't know why I found what I found. All right, let's suppose that I want to fix this problem, and let's suppose that I only have football players and band members as possible participants. What could I do? As some of you might have realized, I need to mix them up. I need to do something so that I end up with some football players and some band members over here in the violent film group, and some football players and some band members over here in the penguin group. And let's suppose I do that. And so we flip a coin or something like that. If it comes up heads, we put them in the violent film group. If it comes up tails, we put them in the penguin group. And then let's suppose that I still find that people show higher aggression levels in the violent film group compared to the control condition. Then I can conclude that the violent film really is responsible. You might be able to see why. It's like random assignment is supposed to make the groups equal ahead of time. You can even check, do some sort of pretest if you really want to see if the groups are equal, in this case, in aggression levels. But random assignment works so well, we usually don't even bother to check that. And so if the groups are equal ahead of time, and then I do everything the same, the experimenter is the same, we say the same things to everyone, the temperature in the room is the same, everything is the same except the film clip. And so now, if we find a difference, they were the same at the beginning, everything was the same except the film, and now we find that they differ in aggression levels, clearly the film must be responsible. And so this is why we say that experiments allow us to determine causality.